welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling a really big figure in the DC cosmos, Superman Prime 1,000,000.
Yeah, the golden Superman.
Exactly. Forged in the sun for 15,000 years. I mean, just to try to wrap your head around that. He's often called the ultimate evolution of Superman. And the stories, or, well, the narration around him hints at these universe-spanning journeys, battling godlike evils. It paints a pretty definitive picture of power.
Yeah, it certainly does. I mean, the first impression you get is just almost unimaginable strength. A Superman refined, like, to a divine level, almost.
Yeah.
The language they use, even hope made divine, a legend among legends, it's all meant to make you feel the sense of, well, awe.
Totally. He's set up as the absolute peak. But here's where it gets interesting, and where our source material today really digs in. It's an analysis called Beyond the Multiverse DC's 1,000,000 Mistake.
Okay.
And it points out this huge disconnect. Despite this incredible buildup, we're told about these, like, mind-bending feats, but we never actually see them. Not on the page. No pictures of his strength, his speed. None of those legendary battles are actually shown.
And that's the real puzzle here, isn't it? You've got this idea, this concept of the ultimate Superman, the result of millennia soaking up the sun.
Yeah.
But what he can actually do, it's mostly just theory. The analysis we're looking at really emphasizes how this leaves a pretty big gap.
Exactly. So what we're diving into today is really why. Why does this supposedly ultimate Superman feel more like a cool idea than, a fully fleshed out character? What's this mistake the source is hinting at? What went wrong in the storytelling? We're going to unpack the initial grandeur, look at the narrative problems, and try to figure out why this really fascinating figure feels so, well, incomplete.
Yeah, the analysis suggests that, for all the really impressive descriptions, Superman Prime 1,000,000 is kind of just an outline of greatness. Brilliant idea, maybe,
right,
but lacking in the execution. It even calls him an empty power fantasy, a god without a record.
Wow, a god without a record.
And honestly, when you think about the lack of any visual proof, any real feats, it's kind of hard to argue with that, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe they were going for ultimate mystery, but the result, as we'll get into, ended up being something else.
Okay, let's really unpack that phrase, a god without a record. The source really hammers this point about how much the character relies on just narration. We hear that constellations pause when he's around, that 10 billion suns go silent. It's this amazing cosmic backdrop.
Incredible imagery.
But we never see him doing anything on that scale.
It's quite striking, actually, how completely reliant it is on just telling us how powerful he is, especially in comics, which is such a visual medium, right? The fact that you don't get any depiction of these supposed feats, it really stands out. We get these huge claims, but there's no visual payoff to back them up.
And that's got to be frustrating for the reader, surely.
Yeah.
You're promised this ultimate being, this, like, peak hero, but it's all just left up to your imagination. It's almost like they're asking you to write the legend for them.
Precisely. And the analysis we're using argues that this very lack of, shown feats, it fundamentally undermines his whole position as the final perfected evolution. Sure, the imagery is powerful, the gold look, the stars bowing down, all that.
Yeah, that's cool.
But without any solid examples of his power in action, it just feels like a promise they didn't really keep.
Right. He gets called the champion of the omniverse.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds unbelievable.
It does.
But like our source points out, there's zero visual evidence, zero narrative support for that claim.
Yeah.
It's just stated. And for a character built up that much, that absence feels like a huge narrative hole.
And this really brings up that whole classic discussion, doesn't it? Showing versus telling and storytelling.
Definitely.
Especially in comics. Narration can set a mood, build a reputation, sure. But at the end of the day, it's seeing the action, seeing what they can do, that really hits home for the audience.
And speaking of finally seeing him, the source talks about his appearance in Future State.
Yeah.
Suicide Squad, #1. Now that felt like a moment with huge potential, didn't it?
Oh, yeah.
The universe is falling apart, reality's fraying. Perfect time for the ultimate Superman to show up and save the day.
Yeah.
But the way it played out, well, it wasn't quite the big heroic return you might expect.
No, it really wasn't. You'd think at a moment like that, a being of his supposed power would arrive totally resolute, right?
Absolutely.
But he actually hesitates. Just hearing Doomsday's name triggers a memory, and apparently fear comes with it.
Fear. I mean, for a guy who supposedly spent 15,000 years evolving beyond all that, that moment of fear just feels really jarring.
It does.
It doesn't feel like, oh, relatable humility, like the analysis says. It just reads like genuine uncertainty, which kind of chips away at that whole mystique they built up.
It certainly does. And what happens next is even more, anticlimactic. He doesn't fight some giant cosmic horror. He gets taken down pretty quickly, actually, by the 7 deadly sins, or powered up by unkindness, Raven.
Yeah, just like that. And the source analysis makes a really great point here. The disappointment wasn't necessarily that he lost.
Right.
It's that he didn't even get a chance to do anything.
Yeah.
There was no display of the legendary power, no epic struggle. The whole myth just kind of deflated.
Exactly. It made this character, who'd been hyped up as this truly exceptional being, feel almost, like the source puts it, disposable.
Disposably.
There was no weight to his appearance, no real impact from his defeat. It was a moment that could have cemented the legend, but instead it felt like it actively undermined it. Maybe just a narrative misstep, a totally missed chance to show even a tiny bit of that supposed power.
Which leads us perfectly into what the source calls the missed opportunity. And it lays out this amazing concept for a limited series called To 1 Million.
Ah.
And honestly, just hearing the idea, it makes you think, wow, that's the story they could have told.
What's really compelling about this To 1 Million idea, I think, is how it focuses on earned transcendence.
Yes.
Instead of just dropping him on us fully formed, all-powerful, this concept maps out a journey, a gradual, believable evolution.
It starts with grief, actually. An issue 0, where Lois Lane has died.
Oh, wow.
We see Superman dealing with that loss while still doing his duty. And then this future, Golden Superman, starts telling the story of how he got there.
And the structure they propose for this series is really clever. Each issue marks a big step in his evolution, and the issue numbers themselves go up incrementally, like issue 1, then 10, then 100.
All the way up to 1 million.
Yeah.
It's like a neat framework. Imagine each issue showing a key stage. Like him choosing to leave Earth because his power is just too much, his journeys across galaxies, facing multiversal threats, actually acquiring new abilities through real challenges, learning to stop time, maybe merging consciousness with a star.
And crucially, the idea includes moments of vulnerability, even fear,
Right.
that would ground his eventual godhood, make it feel like a real achievement, not just something he was handed. It adds depth, stops him from being just this distant, untouchable god.
And then, that defining moment, choosing to go into the sun, not randomly, but as a deliberate act. A final meditation, this source calls it, to refine himself.
Which leads to the final 1 million issue. He emerges not just stronger, but changed, a being of light and thought. And this time the analysis insists it's not about telling us he's powerful.
No.
It's about showing it through absolutely mind-blowing feats.
Exactly. We get these incredible specific examples, like reactivating a dead star system with just a thought, moving faster than causality itself during some timeline war,
Wow.
restructuring the actual sound waves of an ancient being's scream, communicating telepathically with whole civilizations, even lifting a shattered dimension back together. These are the visuals that would actually earn the legend.
Yes. These examples give you that concrete proof that was missing before. You actually see the scale of his power, the imaginative ways he uses it, the impact he has.
And the ending they propose.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's not just him snapping his fingers to bring Lois back. Instead, it's described as him reaching into reality, using this deep, profound understanding of love, so the universe itself effectively remembers her back into existence.
It's
Not just raw power, it's like evolved compassion shaping reality.
That's a really important difference, isn't it? It elevates him beyond just being some cosmic powerhouse. It makes him something more meaningful. His power is tied back to his humanity, his love.
Now, the analysis also touches on Superman Prime 1 Million's slightly weird place in fan versus battles, those debates?
Oh yeah, the who would win arguments.
Exactly. Here's a character who often ranks incredibly high, power-wise.
Right near the top sometimes.
Despite, as we've established, having basically 0 concrete on-panel feats. So where does that high ranking even come from?
Well, what's interesting is that his power scaling in those fan debates seems to hang almost entirely on one thing: the 15,000 years he supposedly spent inside the sun.
Just that.
Pretty much just that. That one detail becomes the entire foundation for assuming his power level. For anyone listening who isn't familiar, power scaling is just how fans try to rank characters based on how strong they seem.
And the logic, well, as the source points out, it's not totally out of thin air in DC Comics, is it? We have seen other times where Superman getting a massive solar power-up made him way stronger.
Exactly. You look at something like All-Star Superman. A relatively short burst of intense solar energy tripled his power, gave him new abilities.
Right.
Or remember the Justice League World Forger story? Superman basically sun-dipped, absorbed tons of energy, and even though he was dying, he was strong enough to fight a sixth-dimensional being.
Okay, so there's precedent. Those examples create a sort of framework.
Right, a framework suggesting that lots of sun equals lots more power.
So the assumption people make is, well, if a short time in the sun does that, then 15,000 years.
Yeah.
That must logically make him almost infinitely powerful, wouldn't it?
That's the jump in logic, yeah. And that's where the potential problem lies, according to the analysis. It points out quite rightly, I think, that this scaling is based almost entirely on assumption, not on anything Superman Prime 1 million has actually been shown doing himself. It's taking a logical idea and stretching it to an extreme without any real proof.
Which creates this weird situation in those fan debates. He's often seen as too powerful to just ignore because, 15,000 years.
Right, the number sounds impressive.
But at the same time, he's too vague to really trust or use reliably because there are no actual feats to measure him by.
He becomes, and I love this term the source uses, the god of headcanon.
Huh. Explain that.
Well, headcanon is basically the stuff fans decide is true in their own heads, interpretations or theories that aren't actually confirmed in the official comics, right?
Gotcha.
So Superman Prime 1 million's power level mostly just exists in fans' imaginations. He can beat anyone in your head, theoretically, but not necessarily on the actual comic book page.
Okay, so pulling all this together then, it really feels like the main point here is that Superman Prime 1 million, despite starting with this incredible promise, this potential for amazing stories, ultimately falls a bit flat because the narrative just didn't follow through.
Precisely. The mistake, as our source argues it, was in creating this really cool concept, but then forgetting or failing to provide the actual substance, the on-page proof, the feats, to really make that legendary status feel earned and real. He ends up being this fascinating what if, but ultimately unfulfilled.
And that 1 million idea really throws that missed opportunity into sharp relief, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
It gives you a taste of the kind of rich, character-focused story they could have told. One that was about earning that power, not just starting with it.
Yeah, it shifts the whole focus. It's not just what his power level is, but how he got there, why he made those choices. That makes him way more engaging, I think, even relatable in a weird way, despite being this cosmic god figure.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, here's something for you, the listener, to think about. What's ultimately more compelling? Is it a character with limitless potential, all mysterious and undefined? Or is it one whose incredible feats you actually get to see and experience on the page? In this specific case, with Superman Prime 1 million, does leaving it all vague actually add to the legend? Or does it just make him feel less real?
Yeah, that's a question.
And what does that maybe tell us more broadly about showing versus telling in storytelling? Even when you're dealing with superheroes who can juggle planets. Something to chew on. Until our next exploration, keep diving deep.